Hello, welcome to the second edition of Android Heroes Live. My name is Lucy James. I work with Advento Live, part of Synesthesia and the team that bring you Droidcon Italy. We are very glad to be here with you, bringing you the next edition of Android Heroes Live. If you were with us for the first edition, we had a really great session talking about Android complexity. We had a presentation from Martin Brown. And you can still catch up on that on our YouTube channel. The Android Heroes YouTube channel is where we're going to post all of these Android Heroes live shows. So if you want to see our discussion from the first edition and the presentation from Martin, that's there on YouTube for you. Today, however, we're going to be talking about the highlights, the thoughts, the reflections from Google I/O with 4 Android experts. They're going to be coming up just shortly. But first of all, I just wanted to thank our sponsor, Bluetooth. We have worked with Bluetooth on a number of shows. It's always a pleasure to work with them. We work with them because we really think that their developer resources are very valuable, and we hope you find them valuable too. Do take a look at that link that was there, bluetooth.com/developer. That's where all of their developer resources are. Android Heroes Live is organised by Advento Live, which is the event services from Synesthesia. And we will be bringing you one of these events, one of these shows, every month leading up to our flagship event, which is Droidcon Italy. Now, that's enough information from me. I'm going to welcome now Marco Porcaro from Synesthesia so that we can have a quick hello. Marco, hi, how are you?
Hi, everyone. I'm fine, thanks. And you?
Yeah, I'm good.
How are you, Lucy?
I'm very good, thank you. Are you doing the same thing as me and hoping that your laptop doesn't blow up in the heat and in a video conference before?
Exactly.
Okay, good. We're all the same. So I want to, before we get into our discussion with the other guys, Marco, I wanted to ask, did you have a chance to see our first edition of Android Heroes Live?
Yes, of course. I didn't see it live. I saw it on the YouTube channel later, a few days later, and I think that this is a great new format, Android Heroes. I saw the Martin talk. It was really a great talk about Android complexity and all the things that we need to be careful when we develop an Android application, and it was really a great talk to me.
It was a good presentation, wasn't it? I felt like there was a lot of takeaways. It was bang, bang, bang of really good.
Really a lot.
Yeah.
and really fast. He talked about really, I think, dozens of things, but there were just suggestions like be careful on this and be sure that you check this other thing when you develop this particular feature. So it was really useful.
Yeah, thank goodness it's on YouTube. Can watch it.
So you can pause it and write it down.
Exactly. And as you know, Marco, we're doing these shows because it's part of the new community that we've launched, Android Heroes, which is a community for Android developers, a place to learn and network and share together. You're in the field. What do you think of having a new community to be in?
Well, I think that it's really fast growing. I receive a lot of notification every day of new people that is joining the community, and well, I think that now we need to create great contents to give to the community, and to make it grow even faster.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the value of a community is when there's good content being shared, exclusive content even. Maybe you could be the first. Are you going to give us some exclusive content?
And well, I don't know. I
did put you on the spot. So we're going to speak today with 3 other guys that are going to join us, the other Android experts. And you're the 4 of you are going to talk about your thoughts, your reflections from Google I/O. Give me a sneak peek, Marco. What was your favorite bit from Google I/O? What's made a difference to your world since you learned it?
Well, for sure, it was the biggest presentation of Android 12 before the Google I/O. We only saw some leaks, but during the I/O, we saw a lot of new stuff. In particular, the Material U, that it's the new UI that Google thought for Android 12, and it's a really a lot different compared to what we use every day right now. So I think that that part was the most important part of the Google I/O, at least on the Android side, because on the Google I/O, of course, Google talked about a lot of products, not only Android. But I think that the Material U was the biggest announcement of the I/O.
Sure, it's going to make a big difference, isn't it?
Well, of course, in the everyday use, the UI will be a lot different. So we need to test it every day and use it and see if it's really this great.
Sure. Well, let's find out what the others think as well. Let's welcome Jorge, Florina, and Sebastiano. I think are joining us just now, all connecting. Hi, guys.
Hello. Hey, hello.
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 Hi, guys.
Thank you so much for being here today with us, for being part of Android Heroes Live.
Thank you for having us.
Sure. Thank you.
I normally see your faces in Turin once a year, and we haven't had that opportunity. So this is really nice. I'm gonna absent myself. I'm gonna let Marco kick off this discussion between you. We're all looking forward to hearing your key thoughts and takeaways from Google I/O. It was just over a month ago now, so you've had a chance to tinker around with everything that you learned at that show. For you guys at home, if you have any questions, you can post them to us here in the live video chat, or indeed on our Twitter account. So post your questions, and then we can ask them to this fantastic group of Android experts. Guys, I will see you at the end. You have a good chat, good conversation, and see you after.
Okay. Bye, Lucy. Thanks. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Let me start saying that for me it's an honor, of course, to be here with you, and I don't know if you want to do a quick presentation about yourself. If you want to introduce yourself. I don't know who wants to start.
Flo?
Okay, I can start. Hey, yeah, I'm Florina Muntenescu. I'm an engineer, part of the developer relations team at Google. So I'm focused on Jetpack, specifically on the architecture component libraries, Compose, and Kotlin. So I'm hoping I can answer all of the questions, or a lot of the questions you have on these topics. Jorge.
Well, okay. So my name is Jorge. I'm based in Spain. I have been doing technical training and consulting about mostly architecture and best practices. I have very recently signed for a company, and I will be joining that company very soon, and I will be creating public materials about architecture and best practices, which is for me a real pleasure. So I cannot share it yet because I don't know if I have the authorization to do it, but it will be soon out now. So just follow me in Twitter and you will get to know very soon.
Okay.
Sebastiano.
And I guess I'm the last one. So hi, I'm Sebastiano. I am an Android GD, and I work at JetBrains, where I do not Android stuff. I work on a product that is called Package Search, and it's bundled in the next version of IntelliJ, and eventually maybe Android Studio. Who knows? We'll find out. And the idea is that my team and I are working hard to make it much easier for everyone to manage and find your dependencies for your projects.
Okay, nice. Thanks. So let's start with the topic of today, that is the Google I/O. The Google I/O took place 1 month ago, exactly, I think. And Google made a lot of announcements, as I said before to Lucy. To me, the biggest one was the presentation of the Material You, because I think that really it changes a lot from Android 11 that we are using every day. And I would like to ask you to tell me what is the biggest announcement to you. I don't know, maybe Jorge.
Okay,
you want to start?
so I will be first. I cannot say that I dislike what you said before. I believe that Material You is very nice interface. I'm a little bit confused because some of the talks were referring to it as Material Next. I don't know if that was the name before marketing, but for me, it was far more appealing, the two different things. One that Flo is more related to, which is Compose. I think that is one of the things that is going to be more appealing to us as developers in the near future. And the other one, and I know is not exactly Android, but Wear. I'm looking forward to do some stuff with the new Wear OS. I am glad that they finally revitalized the platform. So that's the two things that were more appealing to me.
Okay, thanks. Seb?
Well, for what concerns me, there's several things that I'm very excited about. Maybe the first 5 of them are Compose, and then there's everything else. Very close, but there's like 10, maybe top 10, 5 are Compose in all different flavors. And the fact that it's going stable is super exciting for me, because it means that everyone can start using it very soon in production without anyone saying, oh, but it's not stable, you cannot use it yet. Which we know it's a thing that happens. Some companies have their rightful policies of saying it's not stable, so you cannot use it, even though in practice it essentially already is. But there are, still some bugs and things to work out that are physiological.
July.
And the other...
July. That's the key date.
Yeah.
July.
Yes. July, next month.
Yes.
Is it that ready, Flo?
I think it is. So yeah, I call my. Well, I'll let Seb continue and talk about. I'm actually curious also what part of Compose. You said like 5 things in Compose, so I'm also curious of like which 5 things in Compose you're more excited about.
It's kind of like such a big thing that it's 5 cells one after the other, but it's kind of all melded together in one Compose thing. And I'm also very excited about all the new things that are coming in Android Studio. Not just because I work on IntelliJ myself, but also because I think it's very useful and often underestimated how important tooling is when developing. And things that seem trivial, that maybe you don't use all the time, the one time that you need them and they're there, they save you a lot of time. And maybe you start using them again and again and again, and overall they can be a big contribution in productivity. So a lot of the nice things around testing, and also there's a bunch of new things. New things in Arctic Fox. I haven't tried Bumblebee yet, but I think there's a few new things there yet as well. I'm done.
Okay, I'll try to say something that's not just Compose, because I have to say like Compose coming at 1.0 in July is one of the highlights for me as well. I would say also Some of the libraries that we kind of announced last year, well, it wasn't I/O, it was the 11 weeks of Android. So stuff like Hilt or Paging 3, I'm really happy to see that they're stable. So, similar to what Seb was saying, like I know a lot of people are waiting for libraries to get to stable before they use them in production. So I'm hoping that now that libraries like Hilt or Paging or like the security crypto library are stable, then this means that developers will start using them. But also, I don't know, libraries like a data store, for example. It's not yet stable, it's in beta, but I know that it's going to get to stable also in one of the July releases. And from the alpha libraries, I think one of the ones that I found most interesting is the macro benchmark library. So yeah, improving your app's performance, I do think it's important. And actually with macro benchmark being able to integrate it in your CI, I think it's again something really good. And I think I'll shut up because otherwise I'll end up listing all of the Jetpack library updates.
Okay, thanks. Yes, for me as a developer, the most important announcement of the Google I/O was the stable version of Compose. I always try to split myself in Android user and Android developer. And as Android user, I really like the UI part of the Material U. But as an Android developer, Compose, I think that will change a lot of our work in the next years. And well, the other thing that Florina said, Hilt. I think that Hilt, the stable version of Hilt, is a really great change to go over Dagger. And just yesterday, I talked with my team about Hilt, since we've decided to use it in our next application. So let's go straight on new project with Hilt, and I found really easy to explain to everyone how Hilt works, since we already know Dagger and we already use Dagger every day. The change to Hilt was surprisingly easy. So I think that
something that is easier than Dagger is not surprising. I mean, let's be honest. Dagger is a wonderful tool, but not precisely the easiest tool to be used.
Well, of course, and I think that all the setup part that was hard on Dagger and hard to explain to new guys, it's really a lot easier with Hilt, and I'm really happy to use it.
And I hope also the support for other Jetpack libraries, so being able to easily inject or work with view models or work manager, I hope that's also something you got the chance to use with Hilt.
Yes, I tried the view model part, and I think that it's really a super setup. We don't need to use the view model factory anymore, and it's just an annotation, and everything works. It's magic, I think.
Yeah. And if you're considering, using it with Compose as well, it also enthralls with Compose. So hopefully, if you're using all of these Jetpack libraries already, you said I think you were starting a new project, then it's also going to be easier to adopt Compose.
Or maybe don't start coding until Compose goes stable. Just take a couple of weeks off.
It's a great idea. Okay, and then I think that the other big thing for me, most as user than as a developer, was the privacy part, the new privacy dashboard, and the new position permission that changes something for the user to be more to protect more the user privacy. I don't know if Jorge, for example, if you had the chance to see what changed and give your thought.
I think that it is good progress. I think it is on the right track. They are doing some catch up with things that iOS had already implemented, like the showing when things come from the baseboard instead of just silently getting the content from it. But yeah, I mean, like, I think that's the way it should go, and there are still parts that are that I would like to see how they materialize. But I think that is great progress. It's good for all of us. You choose, which is the idea here, that you have the choice of enabling applications to use your data in one way or another, but you know what you're doing. So we were having this discussion in November. Sebastiano, do you remember?
Yep.
So yeah, I think it's great progress. So.
Okay. And Seb, what's your thought on the privacy, on the work that Google did on the privacy stuff on Android 12?
Well, I will have to say that I haven't really, like, I have installed the beta on my Pixel to try it, but I haven't really used it as a daily driver. So of course, the exposure I have to it is relatively limited. But really anything that helps people understand the implications of permissions and understand what applications do and how and when is a great help, because a lot of people are either not really thinking too much about it because they, like, I understand it as a user, you care to a point, like an application is asking for a permission, you're like, yeah, whatever, dialogue, yeah, whatever. And having a big place where you can just look at it and say, oh, actually, this application is using location all the time, and I don't think that makes sense for this app. Like, it's not something necessarily new, but it's expressing data that was already in the OS and kind of already available if you knew where to look at, but it's putting it all in one place and making sure that people have access to it and understand what it means, which is extremely important, because if people don't understand the implications of what they do, then they cannot make an informed choice.
Yep.
Yes, of course. And I think that the other thing that it's really nice, it's the new location permission that allow the user to give only the approximate position, even if the application asks for the precise location. And there are a really lot of applications that ask the precise location, maybe to give you the weather information, and it's not required. So I think that Google is really doing a great job in enforcing the user privacy. And we talked in November about this stuff, and we saw that Apple did something on iOS. I think that this year Google is adding some even more with the privacy dashboard, and I really like the quick toggle to turn off the microphone and the camera. I don't say stuff that are really important to turn off my microphone. I don't know any secret, but it's a really nice feature to me, I think.
I would also add that I think it's very important that we now have in Android 12 the indicators for camera and microphone usage in a way that people can immediately understand, hey, this is being used and it's visible. Like, camera is kind of less of a concern necessarily, because you need to have an activity in the foreground to have the camera preview, but it's also important that if it's not like hidden behind something else and pretending that it's just for Malevolous app, it's important that you get that information as well.
Yes, of course. And
And the
Well,
greatest
this-
part of all, that we are not going to have to ask user permission to scan Bluetooth and then say, hey, we're asking you for your location. That is finally there. So
yes, it was. I think that it was really confusing for the user to know why this application. I just want to pair my headphones. Why the location is required, and this is another big step, I think. And so let's get back on Jetpack. And well, the first thing that I noticed in the past month, Compose now it's so important that people online are referring to Jetpack to Compose with only the Jetpack word. Now Compose it's Jetpack. Everything that it's Jetpack is Compose. People doesn't talk about other libraries, but Compose it's includes like I think 40, 50 libraries. I don't know. There is Jetpack includes a lot of libraries. And one of the biggest one that we are seeing, I think that Florina, you talked about it in the past Droidcon Italy, was it's the data store.
Yeah. So Jetpack, I think, has 70-something libraries, if I'm not mistaken. And I don't know exactly how many of them are composed, but probably around 10, something like that. I've never counted them, to be honest. Maybe actually even more if you're just looking at the package names. Yeah, data store. So yeah, what about data store? What can I tell you about data store?
Do you think that it will replace the use of shared preferences at all? Do you hope that it will? Or?
I hope it will. So it was created as a replacement for shared preferences. And to be honest, like while learning more about data store, I also learned more about what's wrong with shared preferences. So I think there were some things that were kind of obvious that maybe the API was a little bit confusing because you had that like, what is it, apply and commit, and I don't know, like I for one never knew which one to use, and then I would always look at the documentation to remember the difference. But then with shared preferences, there were a lot of things that were actually happening on the UI thread, although you thought that, oh, the saving of the data is happening asynchronously. While with data store, data store is at its core, it's using coroutines. So you know that everything is asynchronous. And similar to share preferences, data store also saves the data in a file, but we're Android developers, right? So we know that we shouldn't do like heavy operations like reading stuff from a file on the UI thread. So just by using data store, you know for sure that that's not going to happen. And then similarly, you get that update of like, hey, what's new? What's changed in data store automatically? So I know. I think if you're used to using Room and then using it with something like Flow, so you're always notified whenever your data changes. It's the same with data store. Yeah, just that data store should be used for like small amounts of data. If you have large data sets and stuff, use Room. So don't use data store just because it can be easy instead of using Room. Yeah, it also has 2 implementations. I think actually another new thing I've done while playing around with data store is I tried the protos for the first time, protocol buffers, and like I've heard of them, and I was a bit like, oh, but they sound hard, but it ended up being actually quite easy to use. And one of the good practices I found in development is making sure that you're using typed data rather than, oh, a Boolean here or an int there that you actually don't really know what that int is, what does it represent. So using typed data, wrapping that information in an object ended up being really useful. So this means that you can do this with Proto Data Store. I'm sorry, I can talk about Data Store for like an hour, so I'll try to refrain myself.
And I have a question on data store, and because I don't remember if it will get the security, the encryption, since we saw the encrypted shared preference few months ago.
Yeah. So actually, the security crypto library, that's the one that contains the encrypted share preferences, actually has just reached stable. Right now, data store doesn't support encrypted. Doesn't have an encrypted data store part of it, and it probably won't by the time it gets to 1.0. But it is one of the like top priority features for us. So yeah, I think there is a bug on the official issue tracker. So I don't know. Look for that bug and start it to be notified when that was implemented. But yeah, we've heard it loud and clear that it's really important, so we're prioritizing it accordingly.
Right, this is really great. And well, another thing that it seems coming from the past was the widgets. During the Google I/O, we saw again the widgets, and they were new in a lot of parts. And I worked on Android widgets for the first time this year, and it was like programming like some years ago, a few years ago. And well, I think that the chance to use Compose in the future to write our widgets, it's a really great thing. And Jorge, did you ever develop an Android widget? And what do you think about the news on these?
I don't have much of an opinion because I did it mostly for fun. So what I saw is good improvement, as you said. I mean, I think that some APIs were a little bit outdated. Related to that, I'm still a little bit confused about why some of the content in Google I/O was still addressing non-compose implementation. So, for example, they were mentioning WordOS, and probably Flo, you will have a lot of information about that. But the Word part, they were saying this is going to be supporting Compose, but all the examples, or at least the ones that I was looking at, were not including any Compose code. Is that that both things are going to be at the same time, but it's still like the preferred one is still the traditional way of doing things, or?
I think you mentioned the where, right? Not you switched the topic from widgets to where. Yeah. So from what I know, the Compose team is currently working on that, on the where support. So yeah, I'm not sure exactly what the roadmap is, but I don't think this will come by 1.0. But yeah, we are. I mean, where is an important where, and in general, I think we were also talking about different form factors and large screens at I/O. So all of these ecosystems of different form factors is important for us, and Compose will support it.
And will be Compose the preferred solution for widgets, as Marco was asking before?
I think at one point, yes. I don't know when that one point is going to be. Like, for sure, in general, Compose should be or we see it as the way to build UIs on Android. So yeah, at one point, yes, for sure.
We're all waiting for the Android release that puts the @deprecated annotation on view.java. One day.
Yeah.
Well, I saw in the what's new on Android keynote the joke about I don't know if you read about it. The deprecated annotation was deprecated, and it was.
And then undeprecated.
And it has been undeprecated before the Google I/O. It was really fun. And
as long as we're not undeprecating async tasks, I'm happy.
It was nice that part in Compose that you are adding now coroutines to that. I don't know if that was there before. I didn't see before, but it is very nice that this can be done now in Compose.
Yeah, I'm actually not sure as well in which release it was added, but yeah, I think coroutines can really nicely be used in Compose. Actually, we have a page on our developer.android.com that talks a lot about side effects and like how you can launch coroutines in Compose and how to work with all of these concepts.
Very cool.
Yeah. I saw your workshop on Compose and a few days ago, and it was really helpful to me to understand how to organize things. I think that it will change a lot our way to think about the views and all the UI part. So I'm really looking forward to use it every day.
To give maybe the viewers a little bit more info on what you were saying, the workshop. So the workshop was following the Compose Basics Code Lab. So we have the workshop online, but you can also just do the collab on your own time if you want.
Okay, and it's on the. I saw it on YouTube on the. I think that it's the Android Dev channel. I'm not sure about it.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me check my notes to avoid to forget something. So
can I have a question for Seb, actually? Sorry, I don't know who, I think
he didn't say anything about the widgets, so it is two questions, yours, Flo, and mine about the widgets, because he didn't say anything about that.
Actually, I'm curious whether Seb has any favorite features in Android Studio.
Anything Kotlin works well for me. That's the. I am actually super amazed at how well the integration with Compose previews works, and I'm saying this because I'm playing around with Compose on Android, but I'm streaming that. But on the side, I'm also playing around with Compose desktop because it's our stuff. And I like the idea very much of being able to write a UI in the same mental model and mostly with the same APIs that works on desktop as well. And it's something like I'm happy that I can use IntelliJ for that, but we don't have the preview stuff that is available in Android Studio for Android. We don't have it for for Compose for desktop, and I miss that a lot. And it's very, very nice. And especially Mark Allison last week told me about the animation preview that is very nice.
Actually, one of the preview features that I like best ended up now being an experimental feature, and that's the interactive preview, where you can just you can see how your composable works without having to install it in the device. It's pretty cool.
It's also really cool that you can just deploy the one composable to the emulator or to the device. If the interactive preview isn't enough, there's the button and it runs it on an actual device or on an actual device. So that's very convenient, and it's something that we couldn't do at all with the previous UI framework. So that's very nice. I have used the interactive preview recently to try and figure out what was going on with Surface that I was working with, and it made trying out different things so much faster than having to even just the short time that it takes to install the application on the emulator. It's gone, so you save maybe 10 seconds every iteration that you do. And if you're just playing around, when the live literals don't get you enough information, you need to actually redo the preview. By the way, live literals, I've just dropped that name without context for those who don't know it. In Android Studio, when you're working with Compose and you are tweaking something that are considered literal, so strings or numbers or dimensions and stuff like that, or colors as well, I think, you can just change them without recreating the preview. The preview will automatically update, and that's really, really cool.
Okay, and are all this stuff are on the Arctic Fox beta, or
I think
Bumblebee? Already
some of them
on
are
Arctic Fox.
there for sure in Arctic Fox, and I think some of them are under the experimental features, so you'll have to enable this in Android Studio preferences. So keep that in mind. But again, like on developer.android.com, in the tooling page of Compose, we have a list of all of these features, including how to enable these experimental features. So I hope it's easy. Actually, one of the things that you were saying, Seb, one of the things I like about Compose is just, because you're creating composables outside an activity or fragment, but just separate, and you can just create a preview for it. It's just so easy to debug it and to try it out and to see how it works. Like if you think about views, you would have to maybe run the app and then navigate to whatever screen you wanted to, you display the view. I don't know. I just find it so much easier and convenient.
I still have to get fully used to that. Like I'm creating the previews and I'm using them. But for example, I was working on an onboarding flow, which is a pager. So it has a bunch of pages that you have to go through to get maybe to the last one that is the one that I'm working on. And I keep forgetting that I can just create a preview for that, and I don't have to run it all the time to get that. So it's still like it's such an alien concept to the Android developer that is in me. It's like I still need to get used to how nice it is now.
And also, did you notice the preview, like how many things you can customize, like the dark, making sure that you see the preview in light and dark mode, or different width or height for the preview, and I don't know, like what else? I think last time I checked, there were like 5 or 6 different properties that you can set. So, yeah.
Well, and then writing small components, I think that it will make a lot easier to test the UIs, since for me the most difficult part of the testing of an application is the UI test. I think that with Compose this will be a lot easier. Okay.
Yeah, and it will increase reusability, because I mean, when you're dealing with smaller parts that can be easily plugged into some other parts, it's always easier to make a reuse of that small part. Yeah.
Yes.
Very nice, very nice. We're thrilled by the idea of using it in production. So.
What did you want to ask me, Jorge? Now I'm curious.
No, the widgets. You didn't say anything about the widgets.
I have a relatively limited, but not limited, but old experience working with widgets, because years and years ago I had an open source widget for weather that was an interesting experience, let's say, when you have to figure out how to get around the limitations of remote view, and you start having to hack around, that thing is not available as a remote view, but maybe I can create a bitmap that looks like the thing, and I can put it on an image view that is remotable, and I can make it look like it is kind of doing the thing that I wanted to do. Yeah, it was a pain. It was very satisfactory when it worked, but also the fact that it was, I think, it's a very old API in Android, and there's the problem that it has is that it doesn't necessarily work 100% reliably with different devices and different launchers. Because when I was actively working on that, I remember getting a lot of users saying, "Oh, on my whatever phone, with this whatever launcher, it doesn't get data. And I'm like, how does it not get data? It's working on all my test devices and the code is the same. How does that? So, all of these things where maybe people were using these weird third-party launchers that maybe weren't very, very well done. So you are, with remote views, you're essentially at the mercy of the process that hosts you. And in the case of notifications, that's fine because they end up in the system UI, which is generally well done. I mean, you might still end up on a system UI and some weird device that does some weird stuff, but most of the time, you know what it does. But with launchers, it's a bit more of a free-for-all, especially for launchers that aren't coming with the device, because the ones that come with the device tend to go through CTS, which is, well, they have to go through CTS, which is the compatibility test suite that all the devices that ship with Android and Google Play services have to go through. So you know that they work. But if someone goes on the Play Store and installs a random launcher, there are a lot of really well done ones, but there's also a bunch of them that are maybe copy-pasted code with a bunch of hacks on top that might not necessarily work.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes, I can confirm it.
You stole one of those?
No, I had the same troubles of widgets that were not updating correctly and so on. Another new library of Jetpack that was announced was the app search package, and I'm honestly, I didn't understand a lot. What does it do? I don't know if Florina, can you add something, because I saw that it's something to help us to search stuff on our device, but I didn't understand.
So I never used it myself, but I've read about it. So let's see if I can manage to answer this question. So from what I know, it allows you to do full text search. That's the TLDR, and it should be with a high performance and with more features than using SQLite. You should be able to do this full text search also in multiple languages. You should be able to easily query the results that you're getting. Should be easier to index these data sets easily. So yeah, I haven't worked with it myself. I know generally that this is the idea, but yeah, I would say try it out. I know that we've recently, we've released Alpha 01 at I/O, and then we do have a documentation page for it that explains better what it is and how to use it. Yeah.
Okay, but that part, let me continue asking, because I was also confused. So the text that you will be searching for is whatever content is in your application. So when I heard the explanation of it, it reminded me to Palm OS in no, doesn't ring a bell. Well, in Palm OS, you were able to use the search from the system to go through all the applications, and if you had a name of a person, you could see appointments that you had for that person, like contact information for that person, and all of these results will show up one after the other, and you, by choosing one, you would go to the application that contains that content. Is that the purpose of that?
Yeah. So from what it sounds like the one that you're talking about would give you device-wide search, but this would be specific to your application, or app search should be specific to your application. Yeah. I don't know much more, I'm afraid. I would say check it out.
That's fine.
Okay,
sorry.
yeah. Fine.
So yeah, but
Thanks.
the fact that you didn't you didn't really get what it is, it just means that we need to do a better job explaining what it does.
You cannot know everything about all 70
Of course.
libraries.
There are 70 libraries.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Florina. And we talked quickly about macro benchmark instead, but I think that one of the hardest part in our job is to make to improve the performance of our application. And I think that all these tools that we have seen, for example, from Firebase performance monitoring and now macro benchmark are really useful, and they give us a standard way to see what's wrong on the performance of our application. And do you guys were able to see something about macro benchmark?
Only the titles, but it sounds like a very good thing to do in continuous iteration.
Yeah, so the role, so we have macro benchmark, but we also have the Jetpack benchmark library. I think that we released a couple of years ago. But the difference between these two is that the macro benchmark allows you to look at the bigger picture. So it allows you to investigate the application startup, for example, or the runtime performance cases like scrolling through a recycler view. So those are the cases that are suited to macro benchmark.
Okay, great. Well, let's go back on what's new on Android 12. Another thing that I really liked was the new splash screen that has been introduced to launch our application quicker and do our stuff. Since on splash screens there are a lot of different patterns that every developer use to have their splash screen, and I think that this will help us to go on the same direction. And I don't know if again if some of you already tried to this new feature or not. Maybe Seb, did you see anything?
I have looked at documentation. I haven't implemented it yet, but it's on my to-do list. For what I have seen on my Pixel with the beta, is that it is very good for the perceived responsiveness of the device. But right now, and this is something that I hope will change soon, but right now it breaks down a lot when apps are already implementing their own splash screen, because then you get a splash screen for the splash screen for the app. And that's something that developers need to fix, essentially. It's not a big deal, but they either need to opt out from the system one, which is just I think a manifest attribute, or they should probably get rid of their own splash screen and migrate to the system one, which is going to be, it's way more constrained, but the point is it is by default constrained because you don't want to slow down the application. You just want the splash screen to last the least amount possible, just to have something, some placeholder to show users while the real content is loading. And I have seen in the past people that say, but maybe orders from above that say, oh no, we need to show our logo for at least 2 seconds. I'm like, but why? So maybe this will help in the discussion and be like, no, we have a way to do that, and we don't choose the timing. I mean, there is technically, I think, a way that you can hack it to make it stay up longer by abusing the animation API, but don't do that.
I was expecting you to say that's a good usage for thread.sleep.
Well, or maybe run blocking.delay.
Yeah.
Let's use coroutines everywhere. Sure. Yeah, my favorites are the application that has a quick video intro every time you.
Oh God, yes.
Maybe you forgot how to use it.
Even
No,
if
but
it
the ones
was
that have
5
like
seconds ago.
an MP4 that lasts maybe 3-4 seconds, and it takes half a second to load because obviously it needs to be loaded from disk, and Exoplayer needs to spin up and load it and run it. It's like, oh.
What I think is it's a good contribution that this becomes a standard, and there is a solution from the system that provides the ability to have that either by default or that you can customize it if you need to. But the default one is good that is there, and it will be, I think it's good progress in terms of user interfacing, and for us developers to have something that we don't have to worry about, and it will show and it will look good from the beginning. So yeah.
Yes, and I think that it's this is the main scope that try to do everything the same right thing. I think that it's the main scope of the entire Jetpack libraries. For example, when the view model were launched, I think now are 3 years ago. And 4 years ago, okay, and it will change. It changed a lot. It's now the standard pattern on Android, on the Android community. So finally, and before the Android view models. Everyone was using a different pattern, and now everyone is using the new pattern. So I think that Jetpack is really helping us to do the right things, and thanks Florina and all the team that works on Jetpack to make our lives easier as developers. And I don't know if some of you has other things to say about the Google I/O, maybe not only on Android, but since we said that the Google I/O it's a Google event and not only an Android event, maybe there's something extra Android that that was wow for you. For me was the I think that's called Starline project.
Yeah, that was very cool.
The 3D holographic video call system that it's seems to come from a science fiction movie, and it was great.
When I was working for HP a while ago, we used to have some rooms that were meant to have the same feeling. I mean, so half of the room was in one city and another room was in a different city. You have to pay for excellent communications at the time in order to be able to have a meeting between two groups, and there was no third person that could fit there. More people, yes, but only two groups of people, one in one city, another one in another, and it was very expensive. The room was available to be rented, and it still at that time it was something that it was very useful. I'm looking forward to have that available to all of us, because I think it really changes the way you perceive people on the other side of the conversation. So yeah.
Maybe Seb, I don't know if you
on non-Android news, that was for me a big highlight as well, because I'm looking forward to seeing, first of all, how that scales outside of an office, because I work from home. So is that something that I can maybe at some point have in a reduced scale at my place, or is that something that I need to go and sneak into a Google office to try it? I don't know. In general, I think there was a lot of content that I haven't really gotten to yet, because I was very, very busy with releasing my plugin. So I've only looked at the Android stuff, and I have a gigantic playlist of other things that I want to look from I/O that I am still slowly going through these days. So yeah, I'm limited into myself to the keynotes.
When you said sneak into an office to see something, I was reminded one of the things that I liked was I think they talked about the future of work and how Google Meet is trying to create a good environment for folks that are joining meetings from a meeting room, but also from home. So yeah, I'm actually right now in the office, so it's really interesting to see how easy or hard some things are when some people are in the office, some people are remote. So yeah, hopefully, I don't know, we'll get to a place where meetings will just be easier.
Yes, since we, even me, we are, a lot of us are now in our houses to work every day. I think that everything that will help in this direction to avoid to isolate too much ourselves. And
but we've learned a lot during this process. I mean, like there has been a lot of progress during these 1.5 years. So
yes, but even in the tools that we use every day, I saw a lot of improvements. And for example, on Google Meet, in 1 year, I added a lot of stuff to help us to work remotely. So it's really nice. And well, let me check if there's some question from the audience. Okay, maybe not. So, well, I have another question to you, and I would like to know from you if, other than Compose, if there is anything in particular that you look forward in the coming month. So I don't know if you are waiting something as a user point of view or as a developer point of view.
Lucy, your turn.
Excellent. I came in for a question that I can answer. Actually, I was just thinking that some of your last comments to the previous question, I remember our first webinar we did just over a year ago, and that was with you, Jorge. Yeah. And look how much that experience has changed in a year. And, little tweaks and changes, but it's, we've come a long way in 12 months in how we do those things.
And you have done a great job at that. I mean, like, I've been in a few remote experiences, and to be honest, and this is not because I'm here, I think that you're doing a great job at that. So.
Thank you.
Last November, it was a very, very good show, and I think you did very, very well at that. Thank
you. Well, thank you for that. We've been learning a lot, and our learning curve has been, it's been fairly shallow for a while, and then it got really steep all of a sudden. And that's like the answer to your question, actually, is that's what I'm looking forward to, is more of that, is how we're going to carry on improving that experience and how we can integrate more of, all the things that you guys are talking about, the Google Meet updates, the different technology changes, how we can just make all of that a better experience for all of our communities, our event/show communities. Who's next?
I can share. I actually have two things I'm looking forward to. On the library side, I think some libraries are in alpha, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they're going to evolve and where they're going to grow. and then seeing them stable as well. Like, I don't know, room and migration on auto migration features to be stable. Now it's in alpha, or navigation and multiple backstack support is also now in alpha. So I look forward to being stable. But then on the, like, let's say outside this development part, like I know Droidcon will have some live events, I think towards the end of the year, like October, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, I think I'm looking forward to them. It almost feels like surreal if we will be able to see each other in person and go back to, you know, the world of conferences. I know it's going to be different, and I think it's good that it's going to be different, but I look forward to that as well.
Yeah, me too.
And Seb, what about you?
So as an Android user, I'm looking forward to glitter everywhere. But maybe a bit less than there was in the first beta. And as like in life in general, I'm looking forward to my second dose of vaccine so I can go and see people again. It's part of the whole topic of, you know, being able to go to conferences, and hopefully by the time that it's, you know, the autumn conference season again, we will be in a position where we can go to conferences without it being too risky. And I am really, really looking forward, because for as much as these events are still important and we still need to keep connected as a community, and this is the only way we can do it now, but I also miss, you know, seeing people, going to Turin. I miss going to London. I miss going to places, and, you know, seeing my friends, my conference friends, that I only generally get to see maybe once or twice a year, and I miss everyone so much. And it's kind of one thing is a proxy of the other, so they go together for me. That's my biggest anticipation, really.
I fully agree with you, Seb. But I would also like to add that I think that what we have learned through this time, the progress that we've done, I mean, it is very good that we have learned how to do this remotely and do it properly. So I think the future is very, very bright, because we're going to be able to have both things and happening at the same time, not same date, but we will be able to do some remote things that in the past were not really possible or not really appealing. Now we have the knowledge of how to do this properly, and obviously we will learn more in the future, but we have done a lot of progress in the last year, and we will be able to go back to the things that we have enjoyed in the past, being with others, being in front of our friends there. So yeah, sure.
Guys, I've just seen that there are some questions from the audience. So if you don't mind, I'm going to skip straight over to those. So we go from our big ambitions for the future and Seb's second vaccine to some more hard-hitting technical, okay? When will the Android Studio for M1 chip release be?
You know that when questions never work when there's a Googler involved.
Florina, I think it is.
I didn't really get which Android Studio version was that?
An Android Studio tune-up for M1 chip, for the new Mac chip.
I don't know, I'm sorry.
Okay, so Roberto, who asked that question, it's from us. Google it.
Who knows?
Moving quickly on. Okay, this is in 3 parts. I'm going to read it all and hopefully it will come together. I'm following Compose motto, pass state down / bubble events up. But unfortunately, this often results in God VMs at the root of the composable hierarchy. How can I avoid this? Thank you. That's like a haiku. That's not a question.
Interesting. So I think in general, the view model indeed should keep the state for the UI. You can also split that state. So right now, actually, view models, you can scope a view model either on activity fragment or navigation graph level. So this means that you would still kind of keep in the view model everything that's needed to display that screen. I think it's the same thing we had in Vue, so I don't really see a big difference specifically for Compose by applying this pattern.
If I can add something to that, like what Compose is promoting is the idea of unidirectional data flow. So you have one state repository from which state trickles down to the actual UI, and then events bubble up, as the question was saying. It's kind of implied that if you have a lot of things down here that you need to keep the state for, there's going to be a lot of state that you need to keep up there. What you can do, and that's not Compose, that's just how unidirectional data flow works. Like the state needs to be somewhere, but the difference is instead of what you maybe would have had in the past, which is like a gazillion small different bits of state, each encapsulated by a single view, it's all in one place, which makes it easier to manage in a way. But also it can grow to large chunks that might be less manageable. So what you probably want to try and do is to keep related state together and create state objects that get passed down from the view model just to the parts, just to the composables that need them, and not create just one giant status object, maybe a bunch of them, and then you can create a hierarchy of state objects that get as you go down and down the composable tree. It's not really a tree, but you understand. Then you pass the smaller and smaller part that you need, and only the part that you need. That's it.
Okay. Lucy, I don't know if there are other questions.
I'm checking. No, there are no other questions. So we're good. I'm just going to check the Twitter feed one more time. No.
Meanwhile, actually got the answer for the M1 support. Looks like Artifox Canary 15 had this. So this means that this is already out in Arctic Fox, which is now in beta.
Okay. Well, that is a big improvement on your previous answer.
What is the release date for Arctic Fox?
For the stable release, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know about that. Sorry.
That is when all the tools for Compose will be actually stable and available.
Maybe with
I'm looking forward to that.
Maybe together with the 1.0 of Compose, or at least
I assume that is going to be a synchronized release, but
that's what I hope.
July 1st. Did you say July 1st? Florina, did you say July 1st?
I said July.
Okay, July. Still less than
it's like 30 days, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
That's fair. That's fair.
We
are really thrilled, so that's where we are looking to have it now. So,
what were you saying, Seb?
Are we playing sweepstakes, like placing bets on which day it actually goes there? Florina, you're disqualified, though. I'm sorry.
I can give you a hint if you want.
Okay.
So if you follow Jetpack releases, you'll see that they happen every 2 weeks on the Wednesday. So this means that out of, I don't know, July has 30 or 31 days, but the number of options decreases massively if you know this information.
So there's essentially 2 days in the next month on which this could happen. Good. That's a nice reduction of chances.
That made just a bit easier, didn't it?
Nice.
Guys, thank you so much. I'm gonna wrap up here. We've managed to answer some questions that have come in, so thank you very much. Thank you very much for all of your time, your thoughts and considerations and reflections. this was a really interesting chat, and this is exactly what we're looking to do with this Android Heroes Live platform is exactly this, expert points of view on what's current and in the news. So thank you very much for being part of this. I'm just going to take this opportunity to say that call for papers is open for Droidcon Italy, in case that would interest anybody who's connected at the moment. Trying to point to all the right ways. And Droidcon Italy this year, we're still doing it as an all-digital event because we just for lots of reasons, that's something we just feel is like the best plan to go ahead with at the moment. So we will look forward to seeing you online for that, and then hopefully for those in-person events in the really near future. So thank you.
Thank
you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right. See you guys all again soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.